as Lord Rama, and stars in all of Indian cinema, a generational talent with both box office records and vast critical acclaim. You know him from Rockstar, you know him from Ya Jawani, Hai Dawani, Sanju, and Animal. Let's hear it for the great Ranbir Kapoor! Next up, we have another titan of Indian film, transforming the Kannada film industry and redefining Indian cinema. From KGF Chapter 1 and 2, two of the highest grossing Indian films ever made, the one and only Yash! Before we get into it, I want to make sure these legends get a chance to see the trailer, because they were back there, it's a smaller TV. Do you want to watch that trailer one more time alongside these folks? Let's play that trailer again. Absolutely sensational. It moved me even more the second time. That is such a special piece of footage we all got to appreciate. I love that this story is so resonant and timeless, and it's a story we spoke at CinemaCon. It's a story that is so impactful. No matter how much of it you know and have grown up through, it echoes through so many stories. And this globally recognized legendary story of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva must be such a responsibility to tell right. So I'd love to know what that weight felt like, and when you felt like it was now the time to tell it.
So I think the weight of anything that has this sort of historic and emotional value is always very, very high. But I think as we were going through the process of putting it together, obviously Nitesh as a director and someone who's really studied and knows the subject matter incredibly well, I think really came to it with a lot of fundamental belief and reverence, which is critical, because you cannot be doing justice to this level of belief system without people who actually also believe in it to a large extent. And so I think, I think I'd love for Nitesh to obviously add his side of it, but for me, just having that team around, from him to the whole development team, really thinking about each step of each aspect of what is it that's written, and what is it that we have to make relevant for the people to consume. Just making that bridge be as seamless as possible was a very critical piece, but sir, happy to hear it.
No, it was indeed very challenging, and one interesting thing which happened when I started working on Ramayana, that's ages back, was that initially, I was mostly aware of Valmiki's Ramayana and Tulsidasa's Ramcharitmanas. But when I started working on Ramayana and did in-depth study, I was astonished to know that there are over 300 versions of Ramayana in India. And each one is as revered. So, given the sensibilities of all these Ramayans involved and beliefs, different part of the people, different part of the country, different people believe in different versions, we had to keep all those sensibilities in mind, and at the same time we had to make it relevant and exciting for the rest of the world also. So that's why it took us a lot of time to develop the screenplay, and we had to take help from a lot of eminent scholars also. Okay, this you can do, this you can modify, this definitely don't do. So that's how we went about developing it. And the result is going to be there for you guys to see. We've kept the sanctity intact, but yet made it relevant and exciting for the rest of the world.
I'm so excited. It's here for me. Ranbir and Yash this performance has to be so grounded, but with such spectacle. You have to bring such truth, and I know for each of you, you've mentioned how you want the emotional resonance to be just as important as the spectacle people witness it. What was it like finding the small truths amongst the big spectacle? To play such big characters in something of this scale, but to find truth in it.
Hi guys. Just backstage, Yash and we were discussing that. He asked me, "Did you ever dream that something like this would ever happen?" And it's such a matter of pride for us, for our country to be sitting in front of all you guys at Comic-Con, presenting our culture, our truth, our history to you guys. So thank you, Jai Shri Ram. To answer your question, I think it all comes down to belief and faith. I think all the people involved, the cast and the crew, they all had noble intentions to approach everything on this film with a lot of belief, a lot of truthfulness, a lot of good intentions, a lot of hard work, and I think that's the result of all of that. So I think it just boils down to belief and faith.
You feel it, sir?
Hi. Really excited to be here. As Ranbir said, it's a proud moment for all of us. Hopefully we will deliver something which will open the doors for a lot of Indian filmmakers to come and position our stories, our talent here in this global platform. Thank you so much.
Controversial question. Finding small truths in spectacle and finding that heart when everything is so large and the enormity of this importance, but also finding the truth in it for the performance.
I think that's the most important aspect of this film, because with technology, with the scale, we can build anything to it. But the point is, what audience will resonate with is those moments, those small, nuanced things which they can relate to. If it doesn't move you, then any of the visual spectacle or technology will not really hold it. It's not good enough for audience to be believing in the subject or whatever you're trying to say. I think those are the things which we have really focused on. Ramayana is about humanity. The story is about simple things. What every human has a lot of conflicts on day-to-day life, because we have good things and bad things within us. What you subscribe to is important. When you see the story, that's what story will tell you, and that's why I think it survived for so many years, thousands of years, and even today it's relevant. I think people will witness it and understand why the story has survived for so many years, thousands of years.
So the on-screen difficulty I can't fathom, but I also can't fathom the behind-the-scenes difficulty. What were some of the technical and creative difficulties of balancing that truth and heart with spectacle?
I mean, I think intent is the most important thing. You have the right intent and right team. When we have started with the right intent, everything will fall in place. I think this story itself has got so much of aspects where we've started with the right intent and we started figuring out so many aspects of life while making this film. And technically, yes, it was demanding, like makeups to looks. There were so many challenges, but I think eventually when you're trying to tell a story, that's why we all are here. We love stories and we give it all to bring that story in the most authentic way. And I think we have been able to do that quite in a quite good manner, is what I believe.
I'll only add there that, for all of you, this is the OG spectacle of the world. Like, this is the one that you don't have to write a spectacle, you don't have to create creatures across the world. So, it's almost like from people in the US, Canada, UK, Europe, India, Asia, and all the way to Australia. We've got HODs and artists and collaborators from all over the world, and some really talented people, the very best in the world, that are actually on the film. And that is to what Nitesh was saying, is a great validation, because they're all starting to speak in the language of the Ramayana. They're really talking to the characters, the worlds. So every time I hear somebody in Australia with an Australian accent say something about the action sequence in which Ram fights thousands of characters, or you have someone in London designing the look of the world in which they inhabit. And the way they speak the words, the way they speak it, it really feels like a real cultural melting pot. You're really bringing East and West together like never before. And that I think is one of the real underpinning of what I feel Ramayana is really achieving, is really bringing people together. And that is really the philosophy of Lord Rama, is how do you build humanity, how do you bring people together, devoid of any cultural or other differences. And that I think is really happening live on the Ramayana every day.
Now, Josh, you're playing an undefeatable, immortal character that has so much freedom, I imagine, as an actor. Did you unlock or find anything in yourself that surprised you playing that type of character?
I mean, people here will understand, like if their favorite. Thank you. I mean to say, everybody will understand because their favorite superheroes or the characters which they've seen in their past, or if the movies have been made about them, if it is not presented in a manner which they would have imagined, I think they would be disappointed. That's a very common thing. But imagine a story or these characters which have been celebrated through ages, generations, and then when you try to make a movie and try to portray that character, it's a lot of pressure. But I think the best way to deal with this kind of thing is be genuine and be a fan of those characters or those stories. So I've approached it with simple approach. I was watching that movie. How would I want to see this character? It had to be brutally honest portrayal of that character, keeping all my whatever work I've done in the past or whatever my belief systems are. But the point here is it's very intriguing character, and it's got so much of layers. The best characters which we remember, which we carry for a long time, are the ones who believe in what they do. Even though if it is wrong, eventually the world will call it wrong or it's bad. But that particular character will never accept that it's wrong. So Ravana is one such character where he completely believes in what he's trying to do, is extremely powerful. How do I put it? It's like the OG villain. You can see, if you see all the villains in the world, I'm sure you guys have witnessed a lot of characters who are called villains or whatever it is. They all have belief system. But when you're watching this character or this story, I'm sure you will see like, okay, this I've seen in some movie, or this, I think this is an essence of that mythology. So it's like, I think this has traveled for a very long time. So when you see this, it is familiar but yet refreshing. The main aspect of it is the world, after all these exposure, instead of we all coming together in today's time, we have a lot of differences. We try and identify the differences. But what this story tells you, it's about larger good, it's about humanity, where in spite of all the differences, in spite of all different cultures we have, how do we come together? Because by the end of the day, all of us are humans and our emotions are same. How do we bring the world together is the story of this film. I think it's very important at this point in time. All of us are in that situation where different cultures should respect each other, different culture should exchange their value system, we should learn from each other.
In that same vein, but in kind of a different direction, you need to play, rivals in a way here, and you guys seem to get along amazing. I love the vibe and the energy. What was that bond like, getting to know each other, getting to meet each other, getting to work with each other, and then having to kind of turn that on its head?
Honestly, I guess you haven't read the Ramayana, but Ram and Ravan really meet at the end of the film. Maybe a meeting in the middle, but we haven't shot that yet, so we haven't had the opportunity to work together. But I've known Yash for some time now. I've been a big fan of his work, and I truly believe that he needed somebody with his aura, with his stardom, with his outlook to play this role. He's played it with so much of swag, with so much of aura, with so much of honesty, that he's really made Ravan come alive. Over the years we've had a very stereotypical version of Ravan, that which was just black. We never ever saw anybody go deep into the characteristics of Ravan. And I think Nitesh, the writers, the makers, Yash, they all have really come together and made this character a bit more complex, and that's really interesting to see. Where the character of Lord Ram is concerned, I think it's needless to say that Ramayana and Lord Ram have been the conscience keeper for billions of people across the world, for generations, and they will continue to do that. Lord Ram is someone who enlightens us about the triumph of human spirit in times of adversities. He's somebody who stands for compassion, for forgiveness, righteousness, goodness. He's known as Maryada Purushottam, which means an ideal man. The perfect son, the perfect husband, the perfect teacher, the perfect student, the perfect brother. I remember when I was offered the film from Namit, my first initial reaction was fear and absolutely not. I don't deserve to play this part. I don't think I'm good enough to play this part. But I think very soon, knowing the intentions of all the makers, you realize that actually that fear turns into gratitude because it's an opportunity of a lifetime. It's an opportunity coming to me in this phase in my life when I can change for the better. I also became a father, coinciding to the time of this film offer. So, over these 3 years, telling my daughter about stories of Ramayana, going to set and actually performing those stories, it's been such a spiritual growth for me in the last 3 years that I only have gratitude to have this opportunity.
That's so beautiful. That's so wonderful.
In fact,
The consciousness embodied. That's so beautiful.
in fact, why I'll give a piece of trivia here. So, Ranbir's great-grandfather, because he's the 4th generation in film industry, which is pretty unique in itself. I think Ranbir, you want to tell us about?
He played the role of Lord Rama in a film called Sita in I think 1935.
Wow.
So it's quite cool that I'm having this opportunity.
That is so special. Literally born for something. And I love, it takes a righteous man to think I could not play a righteous man, and that the embodiment of the character. That's so
I
beautiful.
think that's the most important thing. I would like to add, nobody in this world can come and say that I have the virtue to play Lord Rama. That's how we remember. Just the fact that he said I can't do it says it all. Like you said, and he's a fabulous actor. I'm telling you guys, it's not easy to play Lord Rama, and the way he is really worked, and it's easy to play any character where you have complete freedom. But playing Lord Rama, the way he's pulled it off, huge respect to him because he's a fantastic actor, a big superstar in India. With all this responsibility, he's still so humble and he's surrendered to the character. You guys will witness a beautiful Rama with a great intent and with great sacrifice. He has done this. I should really be telling you guys that.
It's that energy I was talking about. It's beautiful to see, man. I love it. And that bringing the world together and all these details, also tying into the stories that we know that came from this. We spoke about the bow, and that blew my mind. And then you also mentioned Avatar, and that blew my mind. And there's so many stories that are in these hollowed halls, sacrosanct. I'd love to hear some of the influences that all audiences might not realize we've already known before.
Yeah, so the word avatar, for example, comes from the Indian word avatar, which basically means exactly the same thing. And Lord Vishnu, who you see in the guy underwater, the god who's actually underwater and who's sort of preserver of all life on planet Earth. So, depending on who you speak to, they'll say that Lord Ram is an avatar or an avatar of Lord Vishnu, who came to Earth to protect against any disbalance of power. So that sort of is, if you think about it, that inspiration, that visual actually sits true in various stories that are relevant today, in the world. And that sort of is, I think, the influence Indian mythology and Indian culture has had for decades, if not generations.
It's incredible. I'm excited to find all the layers and experience it, and then it feels like a story that as you grow up, talking about becoming a father and this timing, it'll just evolve for you as a person, and that's so special. Every beat of this, I'm so excited for this experience, man. And we started talking about
The first flying machine that Yash was talking about.
Ravana has a flying machine which is Pushpaka Vimana, which you saw in the trailer. That's envisioned then, back then, where you didn't even have the concept of flying object, right? So it's all written. It's not we are not adding it. It's there.
That's incredible. We've talked about the global impact, the global scale, and the global creators, and I think two incredible examples are Hans Zimmer and A.R. Rahman. That is East meets West. That is so special. And we actually, just for you guys, so again, cameras down if you don't mind, we have an exclusive clip with that experience, just for you in the room. Let's play that one.
Hi guys, thank you so much for bringing this to Comic-Con. As an Indian film fan, it's so exciting to see these worlds come together. Quick question was, considering that this is like one of the oldest stories in the world, as you guys have all said, what was more frustrating or interesting, having an audience be either overly aware of the story, they're super familiar with it, did you butt up against that, or is it more fun going into it assuming the audience has no idea? Which one would you prefer?
I think Ramayana itself has a mix of both because there's a whole generation. India itself is over 1.5 billion people, and there's a lot of us who kind of grew up watching the Ramayana, and then our children don't necessarily know as much. So when we think about it, in fact, when Nitesh and I talk about it through the entire writing phase, we were always like, yeah, we know this, but our children don't. Like, how do we try and make it relevant for our parents, ourselves, and our children? Because a film or a story like Ramayana is actually multi-generational, and it really touches upon all age groups and all genres of filmmaking. So it's very exciting because you've got something that rarely comes across in film or a story like, which actually can be very, very universal. So to me, it's an interesting challenge because you have familiarity and a lack thereof at the same time.
Thank you so much. We got time for one more question, because then we've got one more surprise as we take off.
Hi Ranbir, I'm Shweta, I love you. How are you feeling? How's your eyes now?
What's your good name? Shweta.
Yeah.
Shweta. Well, my eyes are a little better. I got a virus. I don't know how you know about this. But thank you. So, that just explains why I'm wearing sunglasses. Sorry? Okay, probably. But I'm much better. I'm feeling so much better. The fact that I can feel you guys, I can take this energy back home, and it's just been one of the most extraordinary days of my life.
We have seen Ramayana with our family. So I have two kids, 5-year and 3-year-old. I'm gonna take them to watch this movie. So just wanna know what you guys did differently, my kids get this message and they feel comfortable watching this movie and learn our culture and our religion. So I'm very excited to take them to watch this movie.
Well, I'm so happy. I'm very excited to take my daughter also to see it. It'll probably be her first film on the big screen. But like you said, the Ramayana has had versions over the years. If it's on radio, musicals, street plays, as we know of the Ram Leela, there are so many various movies being made over the years. And I think the text and what the Ramayana teaches you and the spirituality that it contains, you can make it every month, every week, and there will be a new interpretation out of it. As long as the intention is true, as long as there's authenticity, there's truth, that's all that matters. There's so much of complexity at the same time there's so much of simplicity. There is so many learnings, there's so much of spirituality in it. So I believe like this is the best version of all the people that came together on this film. We gave our best to this. Having said that, over the years, the next few years, the next 100 years, there will be many versions, and I'm pretty sure that they'll all be as good as this or the ones previous to this.
Thank you very much. It's a great question. So I do have an unfortunate bad news. We are out of time, but as a consolation prize, I want to take a picture with these legends, with this crowd. So if you had a question, you can come up to this barrier and be at the front. But that's the best I can do. But you guys want to take a picture real quick of this amazing San Diego Comic-Con crowd? All right, can we get the lights up a little? Then we got one more surprise as we leave for you folks.
We have Shaktiman here also, one of a very big character from India.
heartbeat of the emotion and characters.
And Nitesh, that brings me to my next question. I read that you spent nearly a decade studying and researching and meeting and having all these conversations to make sure this was the most authentic reality you could bring to the story. I'd love to know, when was the moment, that eureka moment, when you realized after nearly a decade, okay, I have this feeling that this is in my grasp to put out there for the world. Was there a certain conversation or any moment in that research that felt like the epiphany?
As a filmmaker, you go through many such moments where you start feeling like you are getting it in your grasp. You know, I'll tell you a very interesting part of my journey on Ramayana. You know, at every stage, you know, I feel just blessed to have got an opportunity to team up with such brilliant set of actors and talent from all around the world. So just hearing their views, just meeting with them. Say for example, like I'm sitting with Ranbir or I'm sitting with Yash and I'm discussing a scene, and Yash says, I'll sit like this. I start seeing Ravana in there. You know, Ranbir says, I'll probably fold my hands like this and look more vulnerable. I start seeing Ram there, you know. So these are the moments where you slowly start seeing your film fall in place, when you are starting the prep. Then comes the shoot bit of it, then comes the post bit of it, you know. At every stage, the film is developing. It's almost like a baby which you are nurturing, you know, and slowly you start seeing it in front of your eyes. And a part of it which you guys have seen here today, you know, I can't feel happier than what we have shown here today, and you can see it coming alive completely. So that's the little bit about the process.
That's such a beautiful feeling. I can't imagine just seeing that reality shift in the moment. And were there any technical or filmmaking achievements that were developed through the production of this? Did you guys invent any technology or evolve anything you're really proud of?
Yeah, I think DNEG, obviously, as a lot of you would know, we've had lots of Oscars, almost 7 Oscar wins in the last 10 years, and for best visual effects, and you know, even films where our work is not meant to be seen, where there are no visual effects, but there are some. You can guess who I'm talking about. That came very recently. So obviously, you know, we've developed a pretty broad palette of the kind of work that we do for the last 20, 25 years. But then you bring in a film or, you know, a universe like the Ramayana, and you realize that there's so much more to what this one epic has than what we've done. And that includes us having to rebuild new tools, new technologies, new pipelines, and all sorts of interaction of different elements that is unique to this particular film, but it becomes something that DNEG needs to create. And that basically means that we can comfortably say this is the hardest project that DNEG has ever done in its entire history of 25 years. And that is, I think, quite a feat for all the artists who are actually sitting there and creating these shots, because you're seeing environments, you're seeing creatures, you're seeing different filming techniques, from motion control to motion capture, you know, performance capture. You've got all the technologies of the world that are used in some of the biggest tent poles have all been integrated, running simultaneously on set, which is why it is easier said than done. You've got live actors, you've got digital actors, you've got environments. It's a whole concoction of everything, whilst you tell the most human story. So it's not just another spectacle. That's why Ramayana is complicated and has not been made in as much as one would have thought. You know, for the country like ours, which has over 100 years of filmmaking legacy, this film could have been made for the big screen several times with this presentation, but it's not been done at that level. And that's sort of because I think the technology, the world, everything had to sort of come together to really make this happen.
You mentioned coming together, and this is such a global story, and it's got such a global team behind it.